Explosions in Sevastopol. Traffic has been stopped again on the Kerch bridge. The Crimean peninsula. It is perhaps the most strategic and important region in the Black Sea. This is the point where the confliction between Russia and Ukraine also started. A major crisis environment was created after Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin's decisions to illegally annex the Crimean peninsula in 2014, and step-by-step it came today. The Crimean peninsula was faced with the biggest conflicts in the history. Ukrainian President Zelensky and Ukrainian officials were constantly issuing ultimatums regarding the Crimean peninsula. Recently, a movement has started again on the Crimean peninsula. The Kerch bridge, which has been on the agenda many times since the beginning of the war, has come back on the agenda. The Russian authorities took an abrupt decision and closed the Kerch bridge to traffic. So why did the Russian authorities close the Kerch bridge connecting the Crimean peninsula to the Russian mainland to traffic? What is happening in Sevastopol? Let's check out the latest developments together. The Kerch bridge has been on the agenda almost every month since the beginning of the war. So why is this bridge important? Because the Kerch bridge connects the Russian mainland to the Crimean peninsula. All the needs of the Russian army needs, especially on the Crimean peninsula and the front where the war is continuing, are being met quite quickly through this bridge. Therefore, the Kerch bridge is almost a jugular vein for the Russian army. Recently, the Kerch bridge made an announcement by the Russian authorities. According to this announcement, traffic on the Kerch bridge was closed in both directions. So what was going on? Mikhail Razvozhayev, the governor of the occupation administration appointed by the Russian Federation to Sevastopol, located in Crimea, made statements about the latest situation on the Kerch bridge. The following statements were used in the statement in question. The Russian naval fleet conducted an exercise off the port of Sevastopol. The gunshots heard in the area are caused by the drill. Our citizens do not need to be afraid. Everything is quiet in the city. However, local sources deny the statements of Sevastopol Governor Mikhail Razvozhayev. According to local many sources, gunshots were heard around the Kerch bridge rather than near Sevastopol. Some sources even claim that the explosions were heard at points quite close to the bridge. Russian sources, on the other hand, remained silent in the face of these claims of local sources. According to military experts, the closure of the traffic in the Kerch bridge indicates the possibility that an attack may be taking place. As you know, traffic has been closed on the Kerch bridge many times. Every time we saw that the Kerch bridge was closed after the attacks. Therefore, it is quite possible that an attack on the Kerch bridge took place. Developments in the region will become clearer with an arrival of the statements from official sources. The Ukrainian army is increasing its attacks on Russian targets every day. As you may remember, recently, the capital of the Russian Federation was shaken by drone attacks. Although the vast majority of Russian sources claim that these attacks were carried out by Ukrainian military, Ukrainian officials have remained silent about these allegations. The general opinion about the attacks organized by these unmanned aerial vehicles is that they were organized by the Ukrainian army. Recently, an interesting image from the Russian Federation was shared with the public. So much so that after this video was shared, Russian citizens almost lashed out during the anger. The anger of Russian citizens were considered quite ordinary by many people. Because according to the allegations, the Russian air defense systems, which are tasked with protecting the Russian capital Moscow, were not protecting the capital. Because these air defense systems were protecting the home of Russian journalist Simonian instead of defending Moscow. According to reports, Simonian is one of the propaganda staff of Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin. According to the allegations, Simonian recently shared a video. The promised video shows that some unmanned aerial vehicles from the fleet of unmanned aerial vehicles heading to Moscow were shot down by the air defense systems. It appears that one of the unmanned aerial vehicles shot down by air defense systems during the flight also fell on the roof of Simonian's house. It is also claimed by local sources that the air defense systems were deployed to protect this house instead of protecting Moscow. Therefore, Russian citizens are showing a great reaction. There are other people involved in this incident. The Free Russian Legion. The Free Russian Legion also made a rather remarkable statements about the incident in question. The Free Russian Legion shared on social media that Russian air defense systems do not protect Moscow. Then they made a rather remarkable statements about the house of the Free Russian Legion Simonian. The following statements were used in these statements. We are looking for the coordinates of the house. We will prepare a surprise for Simonian and we will visit him. The description of the Free Russian Legion was viewed by almost hundreds of thousands of people. As you may recall, in recent months, the Free Russian Legion has made statements and announced that it will organize a new cross-border operations on the borders of the Russian Federation. Many military experts claim that the cross-border operations of the Free Russian Legion will begin very soon. It is stated that the statements of the Free Russian Legion about Simonian's houses should be followed very carefully. Bad news continues to come for Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin from within the borders of the Russian Federation and from the points occupied by the Russian army. On the other hand, Russian troops are suffering heavy losses at the points where the Ukrainian armed forces are counterattacking. According to claims, Putin has been quite angry lately. The reason for this anger is that the Russian general staff has not been able to protect Russia's borders, and the Russian army has suffered heavy losses on the front line. In recent days, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces have been carried out a very critical attack. The attack in question was aimed at the Russian command center located in the direction of Tokmak behind the Zaporizhia front line. The Ukrainian army, which was making preparations in the morning, turned the barrels of its artillery system to the Malat area. At the command level in the Tokmak region, calm prevailed. But with the attack of the Ukrainian artillery, this calm disappeared. Violent explosions occurred at the Russian command center. Almost the entire building was destroyed during the explosions in question. It is also claimed that their military equipment located in the building and the vast majority of Russian soldiers were destroyed. Russian sources, on the other hand, remained silent about the attack. And what do you think? Do you think the Kerch bridge was hit by the Ukrainian army? How do you assess the allegations about the Kerch bridge? Do you think the Russian governor is lying? How do you value the statements of the Free Russian Legion? Do you think the Free Russian Legion will launch a new operation? How do you assess the Ukrainian army's counterattack? We care about your opinions. Please share them with us.